In the quiet hours before the world wakes, there is a stillness that masks the complexity of the human spirit. A leader stands alone, perhaps overlooking a cityscape in the American continent, or watching the sunrise over a quiet suburb in Europe, feeling the weight of 1,000 decisions yet to be made. This person understands that leadership is not a static title found on a business card, but a living, breathing journey that has been prepared for through every word, action, and thought of a lifetime. The path to this moment was not paved with simple instructions, but with the accumulation of habits, the sharpening of skills, and the slow tempering of character. Whether one is guiding a global corporation, a local volunteer group, or a large, bustling family in the home region, the essence of the challenge remains the same. It is the art of movement, of inspiration, and of finding order within the inevitable chaos of human interaction. Yet for many who find themselves in positions of influence, there is a sudden and jarring realization. They discover that the technical skills that brought them to the top are not the same skills required to stay there. The environment is not a laboratory where variables are controlled, but a vast, unpredictable landscape. Some describe it as a blindfolded roller coaster ride, where the tracks dip and soar without warning, leaving the traveler breathless and uncertain of what lies around the next bend. This uncertainty is not born from a lack of data or a failure of logic, but from the intricate web of human emotions, ambitions, and hidden agendas. It is a world where the stakes are high, and the rules are often unwritten, whispered in corridors rather than printed in manuals. Consider the leader who enters their office, feeling the heavy atmosphere of a team in discord. They see the empty chairs of those who have resigned, weary of the constant friction, and they hear the silence of those who remain, their voices stifled by a culture of competition over collaboration. In this setting, the workplace transforms from a site of productivity into a metaphorical jungle. Here, resources are scarce, and recognition is a currency fought for with tooth and nail. People who were once allies might find themselves on opposite sides of an invisible line, driven by the instinct to survive and the desire to be seen. The leader watches as bridges are burned and trust is eroded, wondering how the noble pursuit of a common goal could devolve into such a primitive struggle for dominance. This struggle is known to many as office politics, a term often spoken with a grimace or a sigh of exhaustion. It is the invisible force that can make or break a career, the shadow that follows every decision. Many leaders, even those with decades of experience, confess to a sense of fatigue when navigating these waters. They speak of the energy drained by defending their reputation against unseen attackers, or the frustration of discovering that a project has been sabotaged by a colleague's calculated silence. It is a reality that demands a different kind of strength, not the strength of command, but the strength of perception. To lead effectively, one must learn to see through the fog of internal disputes and recognize the patterns of behavior that dictate the flow of power. But why does this environment exist? Why do intelligent, capable individuals resort to maneuvers that seem to undermine the very organizations they serve? To understand this is to look into the mirror of the human condition. It is the result of fear, the need for security, and the ancient drive to belong to the inner circle. When a leader recognizes that these political games are often just manifestations of deeper human needs, the perspective shifts. The goal is no longer just to survive the jungle, but to master the art of navigation within it. It is about learning when to speak, when to remain silent, and how to maintain one's integrity when the world around them seems to be losing its way. The journey into the heart of leadership politics is beginning, and the first step is realizing that the roller coaster, while daunting, is a ride that can be mastered with an open heart and a sharp mind. The landscape of leadership is often cluttered with the debris of broken relationships and misunderstood intentions. In the home region, a leader might find themselves at the center of a storm they did not create, yet they are the ones expected to navigate the vessel to safety. The conflict often begins in the smallest of ways: a missed email, a subtle change in tone during a meeting, or a piece of information that fails to arrive on time. These are the tremors that precede the earthquake of office politics. The central problem is not the work itself, but the friction between the people doing the work. This friction creates a heat that can either forge a stronger team or melt away the foundations of progress. Imagine a scenario that plays out in various forms across the American continent and beyond. A leader, dedicated to the success of a major project, suddenly discovers that their reputation is under siege. In the quiet corners of the break room or through encrypted messages, colleagues are whispering about supposed errors in judgment. These are not open critiques that can be debated with logic. They are shadows, difficult to pin down but impossible to ignore. The leader feels the sting of betrayal, knowing that these accusations are unfounded, yet realizing that the damage is being done in the court of public opinion. This is the hallmark of the jungle environment, the use of insinuation as a weapon to shift power or claim a larger share of the recognition. In another corner of the same organization, a different kind of conflict brews. A department head, perhaps in a bustling city in Latin America, finds that their team is being blamed for failures that originated elsewhere. Another department, seeking to protect its own standing, has skillfully passed its responsibilities down the line, ensuring that when the inevitable problems arise, the finger of blame points away from them. The leader of the accused team is left to defend their people against a narrative that has already taken root in the minds of the senior executives. It is a battle of stories, where the truth is often less important than who tells the story first and with the most conviction. Then there is the silence, the most subtle and perhaps the most damaging form of office politics. A colleague, sensing a threat to their own advancement, chooses not to mention a critical flaw in a project overseen by a peer. They watch from the sidelines as the mistake grows, waiting for the moment when the failure becomes public so they can step in as the savior or simply watch their rival fall. This passive-aggressive stance is a common strategy in high-stakes environments, where the failure of one is seen as the opportunity for another. The leader on the receiving end of this silence feels a profound sense of isolation, realizing that the people they thought were teammates are in fact spectators waiting for a crash. These situations create a profound emotional anchor for any leader. There is a deep internal struggle between the desire to fight back with the same tactics and the commitment to a higher standard of behavior. Should one descend into the mud to grapple with those who play dirty, or is there a way to rise above while still protecting one's interests? This is the essential tension of navigating the political landscape. The fear of being seen as weak or naive often pushes leaders toward aggression, while the fear of losing their integrity pulls them toward a stoic, yet potentially vulnerable silence. As the leader reflects on these challenges, they realize that the conflict is not just about the specific events, but about the culture that allows them to flourish. When favoritism is shown by a superior, or when resources are allocated based on who shouts the loudest rather than who needs them most, the political atmosphere becomes toxic. The leader must then decide, will they become a victim of this system, or will they develop the sophisticated skills necessary to influence the environment from within? The setup is complete, the lines are drawn, and the struggle for the soul of the leadership role is in full swing, leading toward a deeper exploration of how one truly masters these invisible currents. To delve deeper into the narrative of the office navigator is to witness a transformation of the mind. The leader begins to realize that the jungle is not just a place of danger, but a complex ecosystem with its own rhythm and logic. In this stage of development, the focus shifts from the external chaos to the internal mastery of soft skills. It is no longer enough to be right, one must be influential. In the American continent or the financial hubs of England, the most effective leaders are those who have honed their ability to communicate with surgical precision, knowing exactly when to speak and, more importantly, when to hold their peace. Consider the emotional weight of a leader who discovers that a superior is showing blatant favoritism toward a specific group of colleagues. This creates a rift that is felt throughout the entire team, affecting morale and productivity. The leader's initial reaction might be one of resentment or a sense of injustice. However, the path to mastery involves a different approach. Instead of withdrawing or complaining, the leader begins to practice the art of strategic connection. They recognize that their relationship with their boss is a critical asset, one that requires nurturing and transparency. They work to become an indispensable ally, not through sycophancy, but through consistent excellence and clear, honest feedback. By strengthening this vertical bond, they create a shield that can deflect the rumors and biases that often thrive in the lower levels of the hierarchy. There is also the challenge of the poisoned gift, the employee transferred from another department with glowing recommendations, only for the new leader to discover that the person is a disruptive force who cannot work in a team. This is a classic political maneuver, where a problem is passed along rather than solved. The leader, rather than reacting with anger toward the colleague who misled them, chooses to view this as an opportunity to demonstrate their own leadership prowess. They engage the new team member with clarity and assertiveness, setting firm boundaries while providing the support needed for true change. This intellectual progression allows the leader to turn a potential liability into a testament to their ability to manage difficult human dynamics. During this time of deep exploration, the leader learns to use their intuition as a primary tool. They become sensitive to the subtle shifts in the workplace atmosphere. They notice when a once friendly colleague begins to avoid eye contact, or when the flow of information suddenly dries up. Instead of allowing these observations to fuel paranoia, they use them as data points. If a relationship is cooling, the master navigator does the counterintuitive thing. They lean in. They spend more time connecting with that person, being genuinely friendly and open. This warming of the relationship often disarms the other person, who may have been acting out of their own insecurities or influenced by outside gossip. It is a proactive defense that preserves the leader's network of influence. This period is also marked by a profound reflection on the power of the word. The leader understands that in a political environment, gossip and half-truths are like a virus. They make a conscious decision to never be a carrier. If they cannot say something positive or constructive about a colleague, they say nothing at all. This silence is not a sign of weakness, but a declaration of character. By refusing to engage in the petty back and forth of office rumors, they build a reputation for integrity that eventually becomes their greatest defense. People begin to realize that this leader is a safe harbor, someone who can be trusted when the winds of change blow hard. As the leader navigates these complexities, they find that the tension is not decreasing, but rather being channeled into a focused energy. They are no longer just reacting to the politics, they are anticipating them. They are choosing their battles with care, knowing that not every slight requires a response, and not every error needs to be corrected in public. They are learning the rhythm of the organization, moving with a grace that belies the intensity of the world they inhabit. The narrative is building toward a moment of truth, where all these skills will be tested in a single defining event that will reveal the true measure of their growth.
The turning point often arrives in a setting that seems mundane, yet carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken intentions. It might be a high-stakes financial planning meeting in a glass-walled boardroom in Spain, or a critical project review in a tech hub in the American continent. For the leader, this is the climax of their journey into the heart of office politics, the moment when the whispers in the corridor finally manifest as a direct challenge to their authority and vision. They find themselves in a room where colleagues have been quietly lobbying the upper management for weeks, attempting to redirect resources and funding away from the leader's initiatives and toward their own. As the discussion begins, the leader senses the trap. Comments are made that subtly undermine their team's achievements, and half-truths are presented as undeniable facts. The air is thick with the tension of a coordinated effort to diminish their standing. In the past, the leader might have felt the familiar surge of adrenaline, the urge to lash out or defend themselves with desperate intensity. But now, something is different. The months of observation and the deliberate practice of soft skills have prepared them for this confrontation. Instead of reacting with heat, they respond with a cold, clear light. They speak with a calmness that surprises their detractors. When an accusation is made about a supposed error in judgment, they do not vociferate their irritation. Instead, they explore the claim with a steady voice, asking for evidence and offering a transparent account of the facts. They use their communication skills to cut through the fog of insinuation, bringing the conversation back to the data and the shared goals of the organization. This is the moment of revelation. The power of a leader does not come from their ability to dominate, but from their ability to remain unshakable in the face of provocation. As the meeting progresses, the leader makes a strategic choice. They identify a key moment where a colleague has blatantly passed off a responsibility that was not theirs. Instead of making a scene, the leader uses assertiveness and clarity to place the pings on the eyes, as the saying goes. They do not do this to shame the other person, but to protect the integrity of the process and the reputation of their team.
They show that they are fully aware of the political games being played, yet they refuse to participate in them. This displays a level of mastery that commands respect, even from those who were once their rivals. The climax reaches its peak when the senior management looks to the leader for a final word. The room falls silent, the weight of the decision hanging in the balance. The leader does not use this moment to settle scores or to demand retribution. Instead, they speak about the future. They align their vision with the broader success of the company, showing how their project benefits everyone, even those who are just trying to undermine it. They demonstrate a level of emotional intelligence that transcends the petty disputes of the day. This is the turning point where the trajectory of the story changes. The jungle hasn't disappeared, but the leader has proven they can walk through it without being consumed. By the end of the meeting, the atmosphere has shifted. The detractors are quieted, not by force, but by the sheer weight of the leader's composure and competence. The realization ripples through the room. Here is someone who cannot be easily manipulated or moved by shadows. The leader has navigated the blindfolded roller coaster and emerged with their vision intact. They leave the room not with a sense of triumph over others, but with a deep sense of clarity. They have faced the worst of office politics and found that their character, when forged in the fire of integrity, is their strongest shield. The path ahead is now clear, leading toward a new understanding of what it means to truly lead.
In the aftermath of the great confrontation, a quiet settles over the leader's world. The storm has passed, and while the landscape is changed, the foundation remains firm. In the days and weeks following that critical meeting, the consequences of the leader's composure begin to manifest in unexpected ways. There is a newfound respect in the eyes of their peers, and even those who were once part of the opposition seem to tread more carefully. The transformation is not just external, however, it is deeply internal. The leader has crossed a threshold, moving from the fear of being targeted to the confidence of being truly effective. They observe the ripple effects within their own team. The members of their staff, who had felt the pressure of the political attacks, now stand taller. They have seen their leader defend them not with shouting, but with truth and poise. This creates a surge of loyalty that no amount of corporate branding could ever achieve. The leader realizes that by mastering the art of navigation, they have not only protected their own career, but have also created a safe space for their people to excel. The jungle has been partially tamed, not by cutting down the trees, but by building a path of integrity through the undergrowth. In the home region, the leader reflects on the lessons learned during the most trying moments. They understand now that choosing one's battles is perhaps the most vital skill in a leader's arsenal. Not every insult needs a rebuttal. Not every rumor requires a public denial. They have learned to distinguish between a minor skirmish and a war for the soul of the project. This discernment brings a sense of peace that was previously missing. They no longer feel the need to start pulling their hair out when things go wrong. Instead, they approach every challenge with the calm inquiry of a scientist, looking for the underlying cause rather than reacting to the surface symptom. One of the most significant resolutions comes from their relationship with their own superior. By maintaining a healthy and positive connection, even when the political winds were blowing in the opposite direction, they have secured a powerful ally. This superior now sees the leader as a pillar of stability within the organization, someone who can handle the complexities of human dynamics without becoming part of the problem. This trust becomes a cornerstone of the leader's future success, providing them with the support they need to take on even greater challenges in the American continent or beyond. Furthermore, the leader finds that their intuition has been sharpened into a fine instrument. They can feel the shift in a room long before a word is spoken. They can sense when a colleague is struggling or when a new political alliance is forming. But instead of using this knowledge for personal gain, they use it to prevent conflict before it starts. They reach out to the disgruntled, they offer clarity where there is confusion, and they continue to be a source of positivity in an environment that often leans toward the negative. They have become a master of the soft power that truly runs an organization. As they look back on the journey, the leader recognizes that the political challenges they faced were not obstacles to their leadership, but the very forge in which their leadership was shaped. They understand that to be a successful leader is to be a master of the human element. The resolution is not a state of perfection where politics no longer exist, but a state of readiness where they are no longer feared. The leader stands ready for the next phase, knowing that they have the tools, the temperament, and the integrity to navigate whatever comes next on the roller coaster of their career. The journey through the intricate world of workplace dynamics concludes not with a final destination, but with a profound realization of what it means to stand at the helm. Leadership, as it turns out, is as much about the silence between the words as it is about the words themselves. It is the ability to maintain one's center when the world is spinning, and to be the anchor for others who are feeling the pull of the tide. In the American continent, in Europe, or in any corner of the globe where people gather to work, the true essence of a leader is found in their character and their refusal to be diminished by the games others play. Reflecting on the path taken, it becomes clear that the art of mastering office politics is in truth the art of mastering oneself. It is about the discipline to stay calm when every instinct screams to react. It is about the wisdom to see the human being behind the political maneuver, recognizing that their actions often stem from a place of insecurity or fear. When a leader can view their colleagues through the lens of empathy rather than enmity, the nature of the struggle changes. It becomes less about winning and more about leading, less about dominance and more about direction. This philosophical shift is what separates the successful leader from the merely powerful one. The successful leader knows that their reputation is not built on a single victory or a clever maneuver, but on the consistency of their actions over time. They understand that integrity is a long-term investment that pays dividends in the form of trust and respect. By refusing to spread gossip, by avoiding meas verdades, and by speaking only when they have something of value to add, they create a legacy that outlasts any project or position. They become the example that others aspire to follow, a beacon of clarity in an often murky world. The lesson for any aspiring leader in the home region is simple yet profound. You cannot control the actions of others, but you have absolute control over your own response. The jungle of the office will always exist, with its hidden traps and competing interests. But you do not have to become a predator to survive. You can be the navigator who finds the better way, the influencer who raises the level of the conversation, and the protector who ensures that merit and truth are the values that ultimately prevail. This is the true meaning of mastering the art of politics. It is the mastery of influence for the greater good. As the sun sets on this narrative, the image of the roller coaster remains, but the blindfold is gone. The leader now sees the tracks clearly, the steep climbs of challenge and the sudden drops of crisis. They understand that the ride will always be there, but they no longer fear it. They have found their balance, their voice, and their purpose. They move forward with a sense of quiet strength, ready to inspire, organize, and motivate others, whether in a corporate boardroom or at a family dinner table. The ultimate takeaway is that leadership is a profound responsibility and a beautiful opportunity. It is the chance to show that honor, transparency, and kindness are not just ideals, but the most practical tools for success in any environment. The leader who masters these arts does not just reach their goals, they transform the world around them, leaving it a little more orderly, a little more just, and a lot more inspired. The journey continues, and for the master navigator, every day is a new opportunity to lead with excellence and to leave a mark that will be remembered long after the politics of the day have faded into history.